Does anyone remember that SpongeBob episode, The Sponge Who Could Fly, that aired in March 2003? It was dubbed the Lost Episode by its commercials based on the episode storyline, where Patchy the Pirate uses a treasure map to find the SpongeBob episode that he lost. The night before the episode aired, I was sick with the stomach flu. I was feeling too ill to fall asleep, so I stayed up and watched TV. Around 2:30 a.m., my stomach started to settle, so I planned to turn off the TV and try to fall asleep. But as I was trying to reach for my remote, the opening for SpongeBob played. SpongeBob was my favorite show at that time, so I couldn't miss out on not watching it. Although I thought it was kind of strange that they were showing SpongeBob in the middle of the night. But I didn't think much of it. When the opening played, I noticed that the contrast of the animation was slightly darker than usual, and the theme sounded a bit harsh and raspy. This made me feel a little uncomfortable, but I tried brushing it off. The title card read Lost Episode, so I figured that was a mishap and Nickelodeon was accidentally airing Sponge Who Could Fly. When the episode started playing, it immediately looked out of the ordinary. It started with SpongeBob sitting on his bed, slouched and looking downward, with a somber look on his face. It was definitely not like him. SpongeBob is so optimistic all the time. Why would he be acting like this? After about 10 seconds of seeing SpongeBob like this, he let out a big sigh. Then he looked over to his bedside barrel, and the screen zoomed in on a pill bottle that was sitting on the... Once the screen zoomed in and close enough to read the text on the bottle, it showed it was a Prozac bottle. The show then panned in on with a much bigger contrast, showing SpongeBob taking one of the pills and running off, smiling and happy. The fact that SpongeBob had to take pills to be well himself made me feel uneasy, especially because mental disorders and antidepressants are more mature themes that obviously you don't find place in a kids' cartoon. It should be noted that this was seen on a show intended for kids. The scene then flipped back to the original SpongeBob scene, SpongeBob looking distressed, while at the same time changing the contrast black to the darker one. The screen froze on SpongeBob for a few seconds, then flickered to a new scene. The scene shows SpongeBob at his desk, the same one that he was in the episode Procrastination, with his Prozac bottle and a piece of paper and a pencil. In this scene, instead of staying on one, the colors kept on flickering from light to dark. SpongeBob gripped the pencil in his hand, and a tear rolled down his face. The part that bothered me was the most. The tear didn't look like its usual blue cartoon-style tears that characters in SpongeBob used to cry. The tear was completely realistic, as if it was a drop of real water rolling down my TV from his eye. SpongeBob wiped the tear from his face with his sleeve and began to write on a piece of paper, reading out loud what he was writing. "I can't take it anymore," he said, as soon as he got that sentence out. A faint noise started to play in the background. It sounded like a child crying. It always continued to play as from "My life has been horrible and hasn't gotten any better. My best friend Patrick is only my best friend because he doesn't know any better. My neighbor Squidward hates my guts. He would probably be happy if I wasn't around anymore." SpongeBob stopped writing and talked and started to weep loudly. The color flickering started getting faster, and the cries in the background started getting louder, and it sounded like more children began to cry. It could have just been my imagination, but I heard one of the children faintly yell, "He's gonna do it!" The children's cries get louder, and the colors keep flickering faster. The only job I could get is being a frog at the Krusty Krab. My boss, Mr. Krabs, refuses to give me an actual paycheck, and he basically uses me to get more customers. I'm in my 20s, and I still don't have my driver's license. Sandy is the only girl I've had in my life, and she's just a friend. She's never had any interest in me, and I'm pretty sure she's only my friend because she feels sorry for me. I'm sorry if I'm hurting anyone at all for doing this, but I just can't live like this anymore. The screen froze on a few seconds, then showed continuous writing his final sentence. The contrast stayed dark instead of flickering from light to dark. The children stopped crying. It was absolute silence except for SpongeBob saying goodbye. Cries came back. SpongeBob quickly stood up, twisted the lid off the Prozac bottle, dipped his head back, let all the pills in the bottle fill into his mouth, and swallowed them all whole. The screen twitched, and the animation was darker but still visible. SpongeBob clenched his stomach and vomited a realistic pale orange stomach bile. It was clear that his body was trying to cleanse itself from the overdose, but it was no use. SpongeBob collapsed onto the floor and lied there motionless until the screen turned. Needless to say, I'm scared out of my mind. Sleep was out of the question. Recently, I've been looking for the episode all over the internet, but not even websites seem to have it. If you recognize the video, please let me know.